Bonsoir, bonjour. Now here from CEO and co-founder of POLY-lingual. I want to say welcome to everyone. Maiva, Manava, thank you for joining our live series. And today I'm super excited because I'm inviting here one of our youngest guests. I can't wait. So I can see you're here, Kanani. So let me send you an invite really quick. Welcome, Kanani, today. Kanani Lokelani Asuega. I'm super excited to share a conversation with her. But in the meantime, while she's joining us, I want to say hi to everybody. All right, who is here? Yorana. Oh, yeah, there you are. Can you see me? Kanani, you're frozen right now. Oh, it's super slow for some reason. Hopefully the connection will be better. Let's give it a time. All right, in the meantime, I want to say hi to everybody. Hi, Yorana. It's slowing down for some reason.
Do you see me?
The connection. Oh, there you are. There you go. Yes. Now it's good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
Oh no, it's frozen again. Yorana from Mexico. Hello. Hola, Yorana. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our live today. We have to be a bit patient right now. Kanani is trying to connect. But thank you so much for joining us. Kiaura. Wow, we have people from New Zealand. This is amazing. I love that. Okay, let me resend the invitation to Kanani. Hopefully she can join this time with a better connection. Yes, I see some people from Hawaii. Okay, yes.
There we go.
I think now it's good.
Yes, I think so.
Oh, that's awesome. Woo. Okay. It's good to do stuff online, but you know what? We depend on the connection, right? If it's not working well, oh well.
Yeah.
All right. Oh my goodness, Kanani, thank you so much for joining and accepting my invitation for this live. I really appreciate that you took the time to have a conversation with me. And you probably saw, you know, this past couple of days last week also, we had so many people from different places, right, from Tahiti. And I had to invite you because I actually know a lot about you. And I thought it was important for both of us to have this conversation because I want to say that I'm so proud of you. And there's so much stuff I want to tell you, Kanani, because you first of all, you're one of our youngest guests for this live series. Isn't that something?
No, I was thinking the same thing, and I was gonna touch on that a little bit. I'm really excited. I'm really humbled. I'll let you finish, but most definitely it's crazy.
Yeah, I promise I won't talk much. You know, I'll let you talk the entire time. But I have to say how much I'm so proud of you. I've known you since you were a young girl, and my husband Steve knows you since you were born. He was there actually the day of your birth, and he always tells me that story a million times. And we love your family so much. We have so much respect for your family, your dad, your mom, Uncle Roy, Auntie Kathy. I want to say hi to them in the meantime while we're live. But today I really want to take the time to acknowledge you, Kanani, because again, I'm so proud of you, and you as a young entrepreneur, you have done an incredible impact online. And it's not because, you know, you have so many followers on Instagram, social media account. That's one thing. But I know that you actually did make a big impact to a lot of Ori Tahiti dancers because a lot of them are my students. So they do tell me a lot about you, a lot about your classes. They appreciate you as a person, but also they appreciate your classes, your teaching. That's how I know that the impact that you're making. And so I want to congratulate for that, for all the work you're doing, and for going towards that journey. You know, and it takes a lot of effort, energy, but it takes a lot of bravery, you know, like you got to be courageous, you know, to accomplish, you know, these kind of things. And so we're so fortunate to know you, and we consider you as family. And we have been amazed to see your transformation, not only in your life, but even in your journey as an Ori Tahiti dancer. And so I think it would be nice for you to share a little bit about your journey. You came from a family of entertainers, dance instructors, starting with your grandma, Lokelani, Tutu, and now with you. So it would be nice for you to share a little bit how, can you tell us a little bit how it was growing up, and how did you learn dancing at a young age? Even though I know the answer, but it would be nice to share with everybody. Share a little bit how your journey started as an Ori Tahiti dancer.
Can you see me? I want to start. Are we okay on the connection?
Yes,
okay,
I can see you very, very well.
Okay, perfect. I want to start by saying aloha, talofa yaorana, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I am the youngest on this panel. I'm pretty sure I am the youngest. I'm good old 23 years old. I still feel like a baby. And when you asked me to be part of this, I had expressed that it makes me nervous, especially because it's really important, the job that I have, or the position that I have in our community, or within, or being a dancer, being a Polynesian woman and things like that. I feel a lot of responsibility for it, so I try to be cautious as I do things. And so to be a part of this, and then the whole panel are like half of my teachers that I've had, so to be able to be you know, following all of the amazing things that they have taught me. It might sound repetitive. I went back and watched the interviews, and I was like, that's funny, because that's what I would have said, because that's who taught me to say it, or taught me to do it. Matani, Auntie Rose, Tiana, Mevinga, all of them have like been a big imprint in my dancing and my growing as a Polynesian and as an Ori Tahiti dancer and teacher now. So I just want to say thank you. I'm really humbled. I hope to do my teachers proud, as well as you as my auntie and uncle. I've known you guys my whole life, so I hope to do you proud as well, and my mom and dad, of course. But to answer that question, I forgot my question.
The question is, share a little bit with us your experience when you started your Ori Tahiti journey, like as a little girl. Like, how does it, did you like the Ori Tahiti right away? How was it? Because in your family, you guys practiced like different type of dance. There was the Hawaiian dance, the Samoan dance, but I want you to share with me the Ori Tahiti part.
So I loved to dance. I didn't know why or how I loved it until probably like later into my teens. I was privileged enough, now that I understand it, I was very privileged and blessed to grow up in a dance studio, but growing up in it, it was the only world I knew. And as a defiant, normal child, I didn't want to dance all the time. When I started to compete is actually when I started to find purpose inside of myself to move forward in my journey. Before, I was dancing within the line. I was showing up to shows, showing up to practice, but putting myself in competition gave myself like a kick in the butt to take some time to understand this art form more. So probably when I was around like 15, my mom also had me start teaching, small kind, just a little bit. And then from there, my passion for it grew. I will say, it was like a funny journey. I was learning how to be a teacher at the age of 15, while also just like trying to be a better dancer, and balancing both of those, like passion of mine of being a better dancer, and then my responsibility as a member of the Asuega family and our studio. My love for Ori Tahiti remained, but like how I wanted to approach it continued to change. So when I realized I loved teaching, my entire, like when I realized that I can give back with this art form and it didn't only enhance my own life, is when I decided, like, wow, I love this. I love seeing the kids be able to do their fa'arapu when they couldn't do it 2 weeks ago. Or like I started to love creating a show and being backstage versus on stage, which is funny because I'm very much of an on stage person. I have an entire, you know, like social media, blah, 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 whatever, or competition. It's me on stage, but like where my heart sits, it's backstage. It's so much grander and greater than this, but it's baby steps to get there. If there's anything I've learned is I've tried to do my due diligence as a dancer, and go through the parts of being.
Oh, we're frozen again. Kanani, we're frozen again. Sorry, everyone. We're having some connection problems here. Okay. Can you hear me and see me now? Hello. You're totally frozen right now, Kanani. Oh, too bad, the connection. And it's funny because I have full bars here, so it has to be on your side, I think. Kanani, maybe it's where you are located. Like maybe you should move around. I don't know if you can hear me. I apologize, everyone. We're like going through some connection problems at the moment. Please bear with us. I'm not sure if I should restart the conversation, the live. Oh, there she's out. Hold on. Okay, so let me re-invite Kanani and see. Hopefully, it will be working this time. Let's try. Yes, sorry, Kanani. It's okay. Aloha. So in the meantime, I'm just gonna say hi to people. Aloha. I see some people from Hawaii, some people from New Zealand. Oh, great. Yeah, Wi-Fi saturation, it could. As of now, like here, right now, I have like great connection. So not sure what's happening. But you know what? Things like that happen. That's the only down part with the online or the lives, right? Yorana Marisa. Great, great. We have a lot of good people. Yorana, Auntie Rose. Hey guys, if you didn't get a chance, I watched the replay of from our live last night. It was so good. It's available in our page, but it's also available in our YouTube channel, Reo Tahiti for Beginners. So you guys are more than welcome to check it out. Yes, I know. Bear with us, everyone. Okay, we're getting there. So Kanani is trying to find a way to have a better connection. I'm sure she can figure this out. Good, good, good. So many great people here. Love to see all of you guys. Welcome, Maiva, Manava. Konnichiwa from Japan. Yorana, Yorana Mayumi. Good to see you. Connected. I love it. All right. For the ones who just joined us, I just want to say, okay, hold on. Let me ask her to come in again. I just want to say that, okay, oh, there it is. Yes. It looks like now it's better.
Okay, we'll go. I'm going to stay right here. I might have to hold my phone, but I am here. Sorry about that, everybody.
Oh, it's totally understandable. It happens. That's what lives are. Sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. Oh well, we just gotta go with the flow. All right, continue your answer.
I think I saw mostly just like I loved the movement, but I learned to really fall in love with it when I realized it was grander than the movement. It became a gift. It became a celebration. And then the like other parts I love of it, the athletic is kind of came after, kind of all the exciting like choreography parts or, you know, making my faster. It came later. The teaching made me fall in love with it for sure.
When exactly did you like realize that this is it, this is what I really want to do? Like literally, was it like 2 years ago, 3 years ago? What was the time or that made you like, maybe, you know, sometimes people, they have like a spark or something like that, or an event that provokes something. Was it the same for you?
I had no idea that I was ever going to be what I was today. But I came home from Okinawa. I had left with Auntie Rose Perez. She was also part of this lineup. I had gone to a 6-month contract with Auntie Rose. And in that contract, and it's funny if Auntie Rose watches this back, I love you. I learned that I didn't want to dance on stage, kind of like reiterating what I said, because we were doing a luau show for 6 months. And I realized, like, I don't think I feel as full or stimulated with this aspect of the art. And then I briefly started teaching or taking it more serious right before I had left with Lokelani's, my mom and dad's group. And then when I came home, I got my first workshop gig with London School of Hula and Ori, and I didn't know I was someone wanted to learn from, but I guess through competitions and stuff, Kristen Resnick, who is a longtime family friend, also she used to dance for Lokelani's, but I didn't have a relationship with her until what year was that? 2017, almost 2018. And then when someone gave me the opportunity to listen, or when someone wanted to listen to what I had to say, I found a lot of confidence in that, and I started to kind of go with it. I was like, oh, I guess people want to hear what I have to say. In my head, I had thousands of ideas, 100 things I wanted to share with people, but I didn't know there was someone that wanted to hear it outside of Lokelani's. So yeah, and then I started teaching more like publicly outside of the studio. And then it just kept going, it kept going, and it kept going. And I was like, I think I'm going to do this. I think it was about around World Cup too. I was like,
yes. I totally remember. Wow. But you know what? Everything happened for a reason. It feels like even though you had no idea, but it was like kind of like every event or everything that had happened so far with you is like happening like right back to back, and it was just the perfect timing. This is just amazing. Plus then the pandemic happened, and then here you are like online giving all those workshops online, and it was just a success because so many, I mean, people were available to, you know, to learn online. It was just the perfect timing. That's amazing. Kanani, I want to take you back to you know, like growing up with your family, starting with your grandma, you know, since you were practicing other dances than the Ori Tahiti, like the hula or the siva samoa, you know, because your family is like very, very Polynesian, because there's like, you know, there's someone represented, Hawaiian represented, like, you know, everything is in there. And so I'm sure since we're talking about language, I'm sure you were also exposed to different type of languages. Samoan language, Hawaiian language, and even Tahitian, even though maybe you weren't like directly learning the language, but just by Tahitian songs, for example, you were already exposed, right? So to me, like the question is like, as for the Ori Tahiti, a dance style that you master and have become very well known for, how have you overcome the challenges of understanding and relating to the Reo Tahiti?
It's funny because I feel like I didn't know I was relating to it at all because it was around me so often, which I feel, again, so privileged to be able to say that. My dad is Samoan, my mom is Hawaiian. Grew up around, they were playing music of all Polynesian islands, Maori, Samoan, Hawaiian music and stuff. And then I met the Kuma family, and I was introduced to more Tongan language also, which I get to now live around consistently, which is so amazing. And it kind of was like supernatural. I know some people might have to like go on YouTube and find these things, but I was just around it 24/7. I will say though, I probably know, I for sure know more Reo Tahiti than I do both Hawaiian and Samoan. One, because it became my life. It was my everything. I was studying. It was like I didn't go to college. I went to Tahiti. That's what I always like to say. And I just like was so engraved in it. And then I went back home, or I came back here to Fresno with the Kuma family, and like was back into the other languages that I grew up around. And there were so many crossovers. I was kind of backwards. I learned more Tahitian than I had learned Hawaiian Samoan, but when I learned Reo Tahiti, it helped me understand my own heritage languages as well. And it was actually beautiful watching how it crossed over. And then it was even more beautiful how they were unique in their own ways.
Yes. No, it's totally that, you know, and even me, because like right now I've been learning Maori language, and then I got into Samoan language as well. And it's true, like it's so similar, and like this is where you realize that, wow, we're so connected. But then at the same time, you know that there are still a lot of differences, and that authenticity, you know, from each culture. And I love that. Have you seen an evolution in the use of the language in the dance from the time you were young until now?
Oh yeah, and I want to point out, like, I'm still really young, and I'm really proud of how like much it's grown. It was just, at least for me, within the last like 10 years, feels like I just started learning like the names of basic steps. And that was still in my youth. I still like to think I'm in my youth, but
you are.
It's it feels so fresh. Like I would talk to my mom and dad, and my mom and dad would be like, "Oh, we didn't have access to that like you do now." Like they would always tell me like those things didn't exist when we were trying to learn more for our studio. We had to like, it felt like they were like in the trenches of trying to learn more about Tahitian culture or language, or names of steps, because things were not accessible online, things were not accessible on paper, even like just even books were limited. I have hecka old Tahitian language books, which are so much more different even from when I took your course. Like just the words in the book to share with them now, like there's so much change in it, which I've learned that's, you know, that's the way it rolls. And I meet so many students online now who already knew Reo Tahiti-ish before they got to me. And that's how I also know that things are changing and growing for sure, because they took it upon themselves, and then they come and enhance their movement with me. And I realize they know, like here and there, they know some words because it's online. Thanks to you, by the way.
That's awesome. I love to hear that, because it's true. Like a lot of my students who are your students also, they do tell me that, oh man, this is awesome when you have both, you know. It's so, first of all, it's so much easier, and then easier also for the creativity side, you know, like when it comes to like, oh, let me understand really good, like really deep, you know, the meaning of the song, so I can create better, or I can create, you know, it just gives them room, you know, to do whatever they want, because they understand the foundation and the base. I love that. What is your understanding of the importance of the Reo Tahiti in the Ori Tahiti? Because is it really important when, as a teacher, since you're an Ori Tahiti teacher, is it really important?
Oh yeah, it is. Yes, it's so important. I think of it in a few ways. Historically too, not have like I think of Polynesia too as a whole, as I say that, like historically not being able to speak our language or learn our languages in schools or in like proper settings where you would think that our languages would be present, and they weren't for so long. I find it even more exciting and more of my responsibility, or more like important to apply it now, because we need to bring those pieces back of our culture. I was born and raised in America and in the States, so something like that is so important to me, because I feel like I would have had a stronger understanding of my Hawaiian Samoan languages, and then coming into Ori Tahiti too, if it was just didn't have its part of history where it was taken away.
Right.
And so it's super important to bring it back. On top of that too, I remember thinking I knew how to dance. I remember thinking I knew how to choreograph or create a show. And then I went to Tahiti and did my Heva with Matani, who was also part of this line. And then I realized I knew nothing. I knew nothing until I was there. I knew nothing until someone started to speak to me in Tahitian, teach me in Tahitian. And things made sense. Like it made so much sense. And I didn't have to be explained on why this word and translating it into this arm movement. I didn't need 1,000 words. It just made sense. It just closed. That locket hit and I was right there. And I would listen to Matani speak, or all of his nieces as well, when we're out there as my teachers. And I don't know, it just like clicked easy, and I felt full. I felt whole. I felt like I had a better understanding of how to move forward. And it was a really humbling moment for me, and I'll never forget it, because now when I go into Ori Tahiti, I try my best to think about the dance last. I have to think about the music, and not just the music as a whole, but every single instrument, every single tick or tap, the way that the musician decided to arrange the music. And then also with the words or the story that I'm trying to tell, whether it's an aparima or an otean, I have no words, but I create them, create the story on paper. Like the dancing seems so much easier if you have these things, and the dance is much more fuller, complete, deeper, special, significant, intentional with these details first. So then I learned that the dancing comes last. And I obviously was the dancer first. I'm not a musician and I'm not a writer. I write things for dancing, but I'm still wanting to strengthen that skill of mine. So I wouldn't say I am a writer, but or a musician. But the more I went into the drumming classes, or listened to my dad make drum beats, or the drummers in Tahiti, or here in Fresno with the Kuma family, when I listen to them make music, and then I can dance better and stuff like that. And both of those, the music is a language, the dance is a language, and then the language is a language. So at the end of the day, like the common denominator is how much it speaks. So you have to understand all corners of it to be able to speak it truthfully.
I love that you say that, because you know what, I felt like for so long that people, or maybe back then it was needed to be like this, but because for so long people started with the dance first and then going, it was like backwards, you know. But you know what, thinking about it, maybe it was needed to be like this, because back then it was really like nobody knew what was a arapu, or not new, like I'm talking about, you know, the steps, you know, like it took time for everybody to learn the basics of the dance. And now that, especially here in the United States, and I know every country has their own, I don't want to talk about level, but their own way of learning, or their own, they learn at their own speed. But I know here in the United States, like there's like a lot of dancers are so much advanced with the technique. They're good, you know, good. There's so many good dancers here. And then you come to a point that, okay, you know what, maybe I need to go deeper now because I have, like, I master, you know, perfectly the farapu and perfectly that move and so on. But I don't know nothing else because I only know like what my body can do, but do I really know what I'm doing? You know, and that's awesome that you bring that. And I love that you say that going to Tahiti was a perfect time for you to put all the dots together. Like it was kind of like an aha moment because you everything made sense for you. And that's awesome. And I think maybe that's something we can encourage people really to go back to the island because it's really, and connect with people. And again, it's not about learning the entire language. Not everybody is made for learning languages, but at least understanding the basics, or, you know, something that connects with what you do, the Ori Tahiti. So yeah, I love that you share that. Wow, this is good. So as since now I mean, for 2 years now you've been teaching online, right? It's been 2 years. So do you think that this new way of teaching online, learning, or even competing, because I know you do competition online as well, do you think it has been a good outlet, knowing that, you know, we couldn't participate in person in 2 years, and who knows what's going to happen in the future? Maybe things will get to more normal, or maybe it will be a new normal. But I'm curious to know, like, what will be your like, what is your perspective on that?
The internet is a crazy place. There's stuff I've learned. And I use social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram. And as I use those platforms, and I know, I, I mean this in the most like humble way, or however way to say it. But like, I know that I've inspired a lot of people to also take their teachings on these platforms, or their creations on these platforms, and things like that. And so as I say all of this, I just want to like put it out there in the world. Like, we have to remember that the internet is huge. We all
It is.
studio. I had a tight family. What we said and what we spoke was to each other. I've learned that now I have people all over around the world that are listening to me speak, and what I speak is going to be really important. And it's going to, like, we have to be very cautious and careful with the movement we make online. And so I want to kind of say that I feel like I hope I'm doing that. I hope I'm being cautious with it. There's things like when you're online, or like on TikTok, I'll do things that are like more contemporary and stuff. I want to remind, like, we have to do those in tasteful fashions. And we always, like, if we're going to put a contemporary piece out, I always hope to see myself or another artist before that contemporary piece. They put a proper, tradition is a funny word to use, but a more rooted video or TikTok, you know, with Tahitian language, with Tahitian drumming, with proper movements, and then, you know, move forward in the contemporary, but come back all the way, come back on the internet, and, you know, go on that side. For competition, one thing I really appreciated about the competitions is that now all the dancers were given like their own beat, and it wasn't freestyle, or own pehe, and it wasn't freestyle, so they had a lot more opportunity to create writing and making it a little bit deeper. I know for my students, I try my best to encourage them to do that. Or like with Pupuhere, my online competition team, one of our competitions was to write a piece and then create it and then dance it and everything. So that's one positive for sure that I saw. I found a lot of choreography getting more intricate. And in order to get more intricate, you had to be talking about something. So then they started to talk about something. Hands went from here to here to here and to here. Things became much more deeper. Because people had more time to create. So if there was anything positive coming out of it, I think it enhanced everyone on a creative level, or challenged them. Overall, like being online, again, it's such a large place to be, I try my best, going back to language too, I try my best to implement as much language as I can, through every post. Little things, like it could just literally saying like I don't know, up and down in Tahitian. There's little things like in my tutorial.
Yeah.
My whole English tutorial, I have a few words, you know, in Reo Tahiti. Or if I were to do another island as well, I want to apply all the language in another island as well. But yeah, I think it's a positive thing. It could get out of hand, and us as creators online or as teachers online like myself, we have to be careful. And then it goes into our students too. Sometimes we always have to remember, like, we're students. Knew these aha moments, and I wish I had the aha moment before I started teaching. And that connects with the language, having your aha moment, going to the motherland, and, you know, being there and doing all of that before you you know, start sharing your mana'o about things. If I could go back in time, I would probably start teaching at 23, not at 15, if I could go back in time. But then again, like, I'm not, you know, I'm not upset about it. I'm really grateful for the journey. But something like that, and it translates to how much I know now compared to what I did when I started teaching. And I know my entire age group of dancers that I grew up with, like Sammy McClemens, Leah Fa'apisa, like all of them, they all started their own groups and stuff like that. And like, we're all moving forward. And I know that there's like another generation moving forward, and it's just continuing, and it's just showing me that I'm getting older. What? It's such a funny thing. On that side of the, I just want everyone to be patient and to really learn. Like, just be patient. There's no need, like, to do this quick or to have your school before you're ready for it. I always think, like, how do I say it? I want dancers to, I want to say this in like in proper words. I don't want my words to get messed up. If I'm the one teaching you to do X, Y, and Z, then, like, I don't think you should be a teacher yet. Like, if you're still learning from little old me, then we got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do before. Me being in this panel is a very humbling moment, and I'm really excited. But even then, I still know that all of those people that are in this panel are still my teachers, and I'm still here looking at them like, what do I do? What do I do? And I don't know. I don't know if I answered that question, but those are things that, like,
yeah, no, it makes sense. Anyways, I totally agree with that too, and I applied that to myself also. Myself as a teacher as well. Even just saying teacher is still like intimidating, because it's like, am I really a teacher? Am I really like enough? Like, do I know enough? You know, there's that whole thing. But you know what? I learned that as long as you're passing knowledge, and you have that passion for it, you are a teacher. You know, let's not. But it's true that there's always room for learning. You know, like me too. I have a mentor. I work with. There's always somebody above you, and I always respect that and take as much as I can from them, and also give back. You know, and the first thing I give back is always respect. Respect for allowing me to have access to that knowledge. And so yeah, I totally agree. But you kind of like started like to answer the next question I wanted to ask you. It's really like, what would be your advice? And I want you to be specific on what will be the advice or the message that you want to share to Ori Tahiti teachers and Ori Tahiti dancers. You know, like, I kind of wanted to separate both. And I say like Ori Tahiti teachers because you are an Ori Tahiti teacher. That's why I'm asking that question. What will be your advice or the message you want to tell them today?
I did answer it a little bit, so I might repeat.
Yes, you did a bit, yeah.
For dancers, listen to your teachers, like genuinely listen to the things they say. They're not saying it just to like say random stuff. They're really trying to give you a message, whether it's about the dance or about like life or approach on those two things. I know as myself as a dancer, and I'm not where I am because like I have a very like alpha aggressive personality. I love to go after everything I want. And so for dancers like that, speaking from experience who learned it the hard way, again, it's just so much more patience. Like trust me, like I was a teenager and I thought I knew everything in the world, and Moina and Uncle Stevie, you guys knew that too. Like you've seen that parts of me. I thought I was all hi maka maka, but I really had a lot to learn. Just like really step back and remember to continuously step back. Don't doubt yourself, but just put yourself in a position to make you think instead of doing things like impulsively. And that may be maybe today you don't want to go to the workshop because you're tired from school. You have to go to that workshop. Think about really what you're losing or gaining when you're deciding what you're going to do with your dance. Like if I don't go today, you gain nothing from that. But imagine that 2 hours you spend, even though you're tired and going to class, like you're going to come home and be like, I'm so glad I did that. And like for my young ones and stuff like that, that's really important. Or even for, I have a lot of students now that are older than me too, and they have lives and they have kids, and they sometimes don't want to come to class, but then when they do, they get reminded like, oh, that's why I'm here. So just that, like, come back, do things in a fashion that are kind to yourself. Don't rush yourself through your learning technique, or if you're getting faster on your fa'arapu, little things, like take it day by day. That would definitely be it. And just to be really patient, and to do things out of class. If I hadn't gone to Tahiti on my own, like my mom and dad, and what I did with my mom and dad is the foundation of who I am. But my mom made sure I also was going to workshops like with thousands of people all the time. And then as I got older, I made that decision for myself to go do that. So, in respect of your teachers or whoever your leaders are, like ask, like, can I go to Tahiti and do this? Or can I, like, do you feel like it's the right time for me in my dance journey to move forward in this way? Your teachers are there for a reason, and they have a good eye on you, trust me. And they'll know when you're move forward. My teachers looked at me a little bit like, are you sure? And then I did what I had to do. And then they came back and they were like, you're in the right place, keep going. And when I got that okay, I kept going. But I had to, respect my teachers and listen to them because they're there for a reason. For my teachers, it's funny because now that I'm a teacher, I have a lot of sympathy and compassion for teachers that I didn't have as a dancer. So I guess to add on to that, like dancers, be kind to those teachers. Like they're are. As a teacher, I don't know. I'm really, again, I'm young and I'm still discovering life. So one thing I've learned is to be kind to myself when my teachers don't respond to me very well, or my students don't respond to me.
Your students, yes.
I have to remember, like, they're just like learning it, and I know it, and they're trying to figure it out. So I have to be like calm with it. That might then again just be kind of like a newer teacher perspective, but I assume that I'll implement that patience throughout my whole life as teaching. As a teacher, don't stop learning. Question yourself in a healthy manner. It's okay to go back to choreography and be like, that could be better. But there is a point where it is better and it can be better. Like, it's done. You don't have to touch it anymore. Get deeper with everything. With me online, I have a whole online presence. And as well as you, like, we pump out content, just like pumping it out. I've had to teach myself to go back and dance for myself. And like completely tune out of me being a teacher so that I can come back again as a stronger teacher.
That's a good one. Yeah. I see. Same for me too. Like I have to go back and practice again the Reo Tahiti for my own self before, because I'm so focused on passing the knowledge, teaching, and I forget for that I need that too for my own self. I love that. This is a great advice.
And I think the last, maybe they're kind of repetitive, but the last thing is like the relationship between a teacher and student to teacher is really special. To new dancers who don't realize that this is a beautiful life and they're coming in like I don't know what I'm getting into, you know, and like start dancing at a studio or whatever, just remember like, I don't know, to listen to each other. They both have to listen to each other. My Again, the lessons I've learned, Matani was the one who told me this too. And I was listening to his interview and I was wondering if he was going to, and I think he said it in kind of little words, but he told me to, as a teacher, these students don't know what this is. They don't know how to love it yet. They don't know why they love it yet. So you got to do just a little bit. And then they get really excited. They'll latch on to that little bit of fun and they'll be like, ooh, what's next? Or that little knowledge that sounds really interesting. Ooh, what's next? Instead of just bombarding them with a bunch of stuff. That was one lesson that I often say it and I often live by it. It's taught me a lot.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, this is so good. Thank you so much for sharing all this. Kanani, you came a long way and I love to listen to you and you have so much to share. And I'm so fortunate to be here and listen to you. One last thing, we're like way past time, but one last thing is that what will be your advice again or message regarding the Reo Tahiti? What would you tell the Ori Tahiti community? What will be your message about that? And it's to talk to the Ori Tahiti community as a whole, you know. And we're big, you know. We're everywhere. Even like little countries that I didn't think, you know, it exists. You know what I mean? So it's a huge community, believe it or not. So and because of the online space, you know, everybody is able to connect now. And so that's why I want to take advantage of you know, having that conversation with you, because I want to know, like, what will you be, you know, sharing with that whole community about the language?
Like always said, like, go back to Tahiti or go in general to Tahiti and stay there and live there and talk to people. If you have an opportunity to be taken in by a Tahitian family, which I always say, like, don't be afraid to go speak to Tahitian people about like if you're a dancer and stuff, because they want to speak to you, at least in my experience. Like if I talk to anybody and ask them a question, no one's ever been like, no, you can't. Like no one's like that. Like not just we want to Tahiti wants to tell us about it, and that's something that I've been really grateful for, and like it's a huge privilege to even know that. But in my experience, like the Tahitian people are so open. Even if like they're walking on the side of the road and you're practicing, they'll talk to you, like they'll conversation. They want to know where you are, and being in Tahiti has made me realize how open it is. And I think like for me, I get nervous, like it's not my first language obviously, and people get nervous when it's not their first language, but like the literal people of this culture and language are like, hey, maybe like this, or hey, like it's cool, let me help you, like super helpful. So I would say, like, don't be embarrassed to make a mistake and put yourself, say the whole sentence wrong, and then just let them tell you that you're saying it wrong, and then let them correct you, and then you take it from there. Like I've had to take off that shell of like being perfect or whatever, not being embarrassed, because there's nothing to be embarrassed about. We're all learning it. I used to be like like I'm just gonna say it loud even if I make a mistake. And that was definitely one of them. I remember one time I had asked, I'm back.
You're back, yes. Yeah, now you're good.
Oh. One time I had said like "Aita pea is to one of our costume designers in Tahiti, and I had said it wrong, and she was like, no, you said it wrong, and just corrected me. And in that moment I was like, I can use this approach more often. Just say it, wait for it, and then learn from it. Like it's so simple. If I didn't dramatize the effect of it embarrassing me, like it's fine. It's super
yeah, and I know
with like teaching people or going to competition, like we will be embarrassed, we will be nervous, but it's for the greater good. Like we're becoming better, stronger, more knowledgeable creators and dancers, so whatever.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, learning from mistakes is the best. It doesn't feel good. Yeah, it doesn't. Nobody likes that, but you learn actually faster, quicker that way. So that's why you got to jump and let go and just put yourself out there, and eventually it will. And by the way, all the people who are making the most mistakes are the ones who are progressing like a rocket, because they're putting themselves in the in the a place of learning, so which is great. Oh, thank you so much, Kanani. I love it. This was a great discussion, and I hope we'll have more discussion like that. I know you're still in up north, right? You're not around. Yeah. So I never get to see you because we're not around at all. But I hope I'll have a chance, to see you again, because I think the last time I talked to you was like a year ago when you were in my class. Was it?
Yeah.
It was a year ago. I can't. I exactly this time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
yeah.
it goes so fast.
And I don't. Last time I was at your house was World Cup.
It was a World Cup, so like 2018. Goodness, that was a long time. Wow. Anyways, I wish and hope that we will have more time, to see each other. I know we're all busy, but it's important to also maintain, relationship, because I know there's a way for us to connect by, uplifting each other. And but I have to say it again. I'm so proud of you, Kanani. Like personally, I am very proud. And on top of that, as a Polynesian woman, you know me, I'm all about women, empowering women. That's definitely one of the things that I, hold dearly, and I'm always supportive. My motto is like badass woman support badass woman. That's my motto. And so I'm always, like thankful and just in awe, with everything you do at such a young age, and it's just amazing. I hope it will inspire other people to do the same. Whatever they do, maybe it's not in the Ori Tahiti, but even just like pushing yourself out there and share your talent.
Yes.
There's so many, there's enough people under this sun who wants to hear from you, who wants to learn from you. So thank you so much, Kanani, for this time. I really appreciate you. I love you. And I hope to see, I wish you the best for the rest of the year, and then a great 2022 year. And I hope to see you soon. I don't know when, but I'll hope this very much.
Well, thank you so much. Again, like I never thought, and I still don't know how to wrap my head around where I am today, and being a next speaker after my teachers. And I hope I make my teachers proud. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for everything. It's so amazing. I want everyone to remember, like, it's such a privilege, honestly, like, teach online to you have, and from when now to be here, as well as be here in polylingual. Like, this is something we can't pass up. And so I encourage everyone, go get your ebook, go sign up for your courses. Like, if it wasn't for polylingual before online, the workshops you would put together, or like everything you do right now, like I was telling my mom, I was like, Mom, I have a interview, this and that, and I was like, I think she's the reason why we have this and this and this and this and the like massive opportunities coming from you guys over there. So everybody give love. I love you guys very much. I'm very grateful. Thank you for everything before online and this ebook. I'm super excited. And yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I'm really humbled. I'm really grateful. And I am excited to continue to make my Ori Tahiti teachers proud. And,
yay! I love it. Kanani, I know you have something coming up. How can we support you? Because I've been following you. I know you have something this weekend. Share with us and tell us, like, how can we support you?
This weekend we have a fa'arapu workshop. It's going to be breaking down your technique of how to improve your fa'arapu in a very detailed way. It won't be a workout class. It will make sure that your brain and your body can connect, and that's happening on Saturday. KananiLokelani.com. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, I guess. And yeah, just honestly, like, I feel so much support that I don't even like, I don't want to ask for anything more, because I'm extremely lucky and blessed and privileged to have this platform. And so I hope to give back more than to ask for anything, really.
Oh, this is great. I love it. Thank you so much, Kanani. Thank you everyone for following. Support as much as you can. And I wish you guys an awesome evening. And if I don't see you guys, I mean, Kanani, if I don't see you, I hope to see you soon. Give my love to the Kuma family, also Ofa and everybody. And I'll see you soon. Mwah.
Bye, guys. Nana.
Nana, everyone. Nana Kanani.